Let's get into it. Sold Not For Sale podcast. Coach Colin here. We're talking about something that happened in LA, not what you're thinking. Apparently, there was a fire relief fund, raised $100 million. And then people started asking, where did that $100 million go? And I'm even going to find, I just realized I'm going to find a tweet as well, where Gavin Newsom recently said the $134 million that Trump is using to get the National Guard in to LA, that should be going to the fire relief fund. So not only that, he wants another $100 million. So Joe Rogan is talking about someone that I've been following for a long time, and I think you should too. His name's James Lee. Rogan gives him a huge shout out, although it's jokingly, but still he knows about the guy. He's sharing his content. He says that this is Joe Rogan's #1 source of news. I really like that. He's a solid dude. So we're going to watch the Joe Rogan clip first. Then I'm going to show you what James Lee is talking about. And then we're going to move on to something else that's supposed to be happening on Saturday. Coincidentally, the same time as the whole 250th anniversary and whatnot on Saturday in Washington. There's going to be a protest called No Kings. And this protest is being funded by someone. And I know what you're thinking right away. You're like, Soros. No. Someone else has thrown their hat into the ring, but also a notable name. The name's Walton, like Walmart. But I'll let James Lee explain that after we watch this Rogan clip. Let's go.
I'm on an airplane.
He was ready. He had that geared up.
I knew he was
coming in.
But wait till you see it. It looks like a movie. It really looks like a movie.
What I sent Jamie yesterday, you want to get mad?
Yeah.
Let's get mad.
Let's get mad.
The LA Fire Fund, you know, they had this big show, big fundraiser. They raised $100 million.
What, did it all go to BLM?
Wait till you find out where the money went. James Lee did a thing about it on Instagram. Yeah, and there's been articles written about it where people are like, where's the money? The way they distribute the money is so crazy. You're gonna read this and you're never gonna want to donate to charity again because you find out what charities are really, what a lot of these non-profits are really about. The lady running the charity that got the money makes almost $1 million a year.
BLM, Me Too.
Yep.
This
same lady.
No. But it's all everyone's like, well, let me get a
Same
taste.
fucking lady. She's killing it.
Listen to this.
I watched this. I looked into it a little bit. We'll watch it, but what they say though is that within the first month they distributed half of that money.
Hold on, before you press play on
I
this.
also don't trust this.
Hold on, that guy with the fishing hat is not a reliable news source.
That's my #1 source of news.
And then he's trying to blame the Annenberg Foundation. That is one of the richest fucking families in California. They're worth so much fucking money.
Wonder how they got money.
I mean,
it doesn't matter. If
like liberal ass Jamie, you fucking Ohio State fan, liberal ass.
How about just play the video? How about play the video and let everybody figure it out for themselves?
Let's platform this guy.
Okay.
Yeah, play it, liberal.
Jesus.
Concert might be one of the biggest scams in disaster.
Shane said, play it, liberal. Oh my God. But I stopped it for a reason. I think you guys would want to see this a little bit bigger than just the side screen of Joe. So I have it for you right here, and then we'll jump back into the video. So let's play this right now. This is James Lee, ladies and gentlemen.
This benefit concert might be one of the biggest scams in disaster fundraising history. And as usual, I'm bringing the receipts. First off, according to reports, the Fire Aid benefit concerts raised over $100 million, supposedly for LA fire victims. But since then, residents have been asking, where did all the money go?
$100 million raised for residents, community things, and funds that are supposed to help with Palisades, and there's no accounting or where the money went. They're not telling anyone.
Let's figure this out. So, according to the Fire Aid website, it says that all direct donations will be distributed under the advisement of the Annenberg Foundation. According to the IRS 990 form, the Annenberg Foundation is a 501c3 based in Conshohocken, Pennsylvania, in this lovely office building. One massive red flag right away is that only 33% of their annual expenses goes towards actual charity programs. The rest goes to administrative costs like executive compensation. And if you look at the numbers, they treat you pretty good over there, starting with top dog Cynthia Kennard, who's making $750,000 plus another 6 figures in bonuses, which is basically almost 7 figures just for one person there. Here is Cynthia, aka Cinny, hanging out with Gavin Newsom, discussing or strategizing about things like how to solve homelessness, among other things. This is one of those if you know situations. Anyway, just to give you a point of comparison with another nonprofit, Doctors Without Borders, they spend almost 90% of their money on actual programs versus less than 1% on administrative costs. Local journalists have also been asking, where's the money? They found, quote, the Fire Aid website names only 3 Palisades organizations that receive grants. Among almost 120 organizations listed as receiving grants, none of whom are specific to Pacific Palisades, and those 3 are Kehelet Israel, Chabad of Pacific Palisades, and Palisades Charter High School. Others have tried to directly reach out to the Annenberg Foundation. They were kind of given the runaround, various extension numbers, somebody saying they would call them back, no one called back. Also referring them to some mysterious man named Philip, no last name. He was never found. This is just crazy. So essentially what they're doing is taking the $100 million, then paying themselves roughly 70% of it, and then the rest of the money they're dishing out to various other nonprofits with their own administrative expenses, and that's how $100 million just ends up disappearing, allegedly.
Wow. Let's jump back into the Rogan clip. They let me just jump here, jump there. Because I'm just gonna jump through it because they play the whole thing. I don't think we need to hear the whole thing again, but you can hear at least half of it. Here you go.
Yeah, aka Cinny, hanging out with Gavin Newsom, discussing or strategizing about things like how to solve.
I would.
Both of them.
6 beers.
Yeah. Anyway, just to give you a point of comparison with another nonprofit, Doctors Without Borders, they spend almost 90% of their money on actual programs versus less than 1% on administrative costs. Local journalists have also been asking, where's the money? They found, quote, the Fire Aid website names only 3 Palisades organizations that receive grants. Among almost 120 organizations listed as receiving.
A couple Jew ones in there.
You see who got the money?
A couple Jew ones in there. Hold on, let me read it.
Why'd you stop?
Because he's focused on the Palisades.
Just play it. Just play it. We'll talk later.
Are specific to Pacific Palisades.
What the Israel?
Those 3 are Kehelet Israel, Chabad of Pacific Palisades, and Palisades Charter High School.
Listen, Scorpion
Others have tried
sting.
to directly reach out to the Annenberg Foundation. They were kind of given the runaround, various extension numbers. Somebody saying they would call them back, no one called back.
Well,
also
customer
referring
service.
them to some mysterious man named Philip, no last name. He was never found.
Yes.
This is just crazy. So essentially what they're doing is taking the $100 million, then paying themselves roughly 70% of it.
Wow.
And then the rest of the money they're dishing out to various other nonprofits with their own administrative expenses. And that's how $100 million just ends up disappearing.
Wow. Okay.
I don't believe it.
Maybe he's telling the truth. Maybe he's exaggerating. But at the very least,
This is what the
30%,
NFL does. NFL does with the
30%,
cancer research stuff.
70% goes to administration. 30% goes to the actual cause.
These nonprofits.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
They're for their
that's
own
crazy.
profit.
And
well,
the
it's just a
insurance bailed on
loophole.
them, too.
It's a loophole.
But
They found a
but-
loophole to make a great living by being virtuous.
And then they see a fire and they're like, sick, we're all getting raises.
Well, all we're saying, Jamie, is that this guy is saying that 70% traditionally goes to administrative costs, 30% goes to the actual problem.
Right, that's for all charities.
Right, that is for all charities, for a lot of charities, but not Doctors Without Borders, which is one of the things that he brought up.
He just picked one, though.
Right,
He's
but he-
comparing you with this stuff to just like, I'll pick a charity. And he picked probably one of the worst ones, you know. We've gone over the charity stuff many times. There's
Right.
good and bad charities.
There's good and bad charities. But the point is that this $100 million you're saying was distributed to a bunch of different places, not just Pacific Palisades.
Looking into it, to $100 million was a number that got used in advertising to make everything look big and look good. Probably, I was trying to say too, assuming that it is $100 million. There's a bunch of companies and a bunch of like artists that said, oh, I'm going to pledge $1 million. I'm going to pledge $1 million. And you have to go collect it all. You don't know if they all sent it in.
Oh, you know how many times I've pledged stuff?
I pledged $1 million to Notre Dame's NIL. I haven't done one single.
Did you do it by yourself?
Yeah.
Were you in your apartment?
No, I was at the fucking championship game watching Ohio State win, and I was going, Notre Dame needs a D tackle. I'm going to give him $1 million.
For real?
Yeah. And then they were like, hey, you want to give us that $1 million? I was like, no.
I pledged. Is that legally binding?
It was a pledge. J-Mo,
Well, isn't that the
on,
weirdest
man.
thing about colleges? Like how much money colleges get in donations from people that are like really wealthy that used to go there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even go there. Didn't go there. Like,
But that's a big thing with
I just wanted
colleges,
to
right?
win before my dad dies.
Yeah, that's why these college kids are getting money now.
It's kind of crazy. I talked to one at Barstool in Chicago. He's played at Indiana Center. And it's like, how much per year? He goes, $300,000 to transfer to Indiana.
Oh, that's
For a year.
Notre Dame's Pat Coogan.
What?
He transferred to Indiana.
Yeah.
He was from Notre Dame.
And it's just like, that's a good living. I don't have to go into this for my life. I'm going to take my degree and like
They
actually
should have
start
been
a
doing
life.
that for those kids forever.
100%.
They're making.
Man, those kids, it's going to get to the point where you're in college and you're getting paid $20 million. It's going to get to that point. Kids are just going to be coming out of school millionaires. Not even going to go to the NFL. They're going to be like, I'm good. My brain works fine. I got a degree. I got this crazy nest egg because I'm in school. I can't even spend this money. I don't need the NFL. Oh, it's going to be bad. It's going to be bad. And then they're going to have to pay them more because the road's going to stop at college and university. And then the NFL is going to be trying to take them out of high school. LeBron James, Kobe Bryant style, you know? There's going to be a lot of that going on. But they deserve to have that happen. You're just milking those kids. Anyway, let's get into this whole thing. Now, that whole thing is absolutely crazy. Hilarious how Jamie has his whole back and forth with Joe. Shane's calling him a liberal. I always find that so hilarious. And actually, near the end of the episode, Jamie's actually appearing upset. They're asking him to like do beer bongs, and Jamie's just like no. And then Joe says Jamie's like a little kid. You can't yell at him. It's very weird energy. You know, Shane's like, come on, what are you being like that for? And it's like, yeah, something was going on. I'm not sure what was going on, but anyway, let's jump over here really quick because James Lee has more. I really want to talk about this whole no kings thing. Now, I also found this. Should I play it? Let's play it.
I'm about to say some pretty unpopular things, starting with this is not good. Also, this is not a peaceful protest. But something very disturbing is happening in the background that I think you should know about. It's time to deploy Palantir to Los Angeles to deal with the illegals. You know you love to see it. You're lying if you say you wouldn't. This is the grand plan. Okay, it's not an accident that cars are burning on the streets and people are waving foreign flags on the streets. There is something they're trying to manufacture consent for. Remember, when they justified the passing of the Patriot Act over 20 years ago, they told us we needed all this extra power to go after the bad guys, to get rid of the terrorists. But almost immediately, the government started to use that extra power they were given to spy on ordinary Americans, right? How can you be so sure that you will not be deemed an enemy of the state one day? There's absolutely no guarantee that this master database won't be weaponized against you. And to be perfectly honest, history tells us that the likelihood is pretty high that it will be used against you one day. So to quote RFK Jr., 1, any power that the government takes from the people, it will never return voluntarily. 2, every power that the government takes, it will ultimately be abused to the maximum extent possible. 3, nobody ever complied their way out of totalitarianism. The only thing we can do is resist. Be careful out there, people.
This is actually very interesting because that whole Palantir thing, there was a few people saying the same thing in unison. And then I noticed this happened as well. They were saying this in unison as well. Matt Walsh says ban third world immigration. Now, this is something that I obviously agree with. We cannot be America's soup kitchen. But just the thing that throws me off is when I see 3 people, whether they're conservative or liberal, I don't care. When I see 3 people, look at this. This is the same tweet. It's time to ban. There, let me just make sure my cursor's there. It's time to ban. It's time to ban third world immigration. Third world immigration, legal or illegal. We've reached our limit. We've reached our limit. And we have a huge cultural, educational, housing, financial. This is the same tweet word for word. That's crazy. I don't like seeing that. When I see that, I can't trust you when I see that, because I know someone came to you and said that. These two didn't say, hey, dude, you want to send the same tweet, bro? Yeah, let's do it, man. It's going to be so cool. So cool. Same time, man. It's going to blow people's minds. No. That's not what happened. Someone told them to do that. So, I mean, listen, I didn't even have this planned at all, but that just kind of goes with what James is saying, where, manufacturing consent. That is something that does happen. Man. I don't want to see that happen. I don't want to see it go the way that it could go, Anyway, that is something to think about. Now, let's move on to this whole funded by Walmart thing. This is very, very interesting. Short video, and then I have another one to show talking about this same thing.
When corporations fund protests, you have to really wonder what the heck is going on. The No Kings protest that's happening all over America on June 14th, funded by Walmart. Right there, paid for by Christy Walton. Christy Walton is the billionaire heiress of Walmart, worth almost $20 billion. What do you think her end game here is? Like, is she really worried about authoritarianism or human rights abuses? Or is she just after cheap labor? Okay, over 70% of SNAP recipients and Medicaid users were full-time workers, and many of them are from Walmart. The irony is certainly not lost on me that the biggest organized protest against a so-called king is being organized by an oligarch. I mean, I don't think it's by accident that the bottom 50% of China holds twice as much wealth as the bottom 50% of America. Okay, China is the blue line, America is the red line. This should wake a lot of people up. Like, think about it. Why is China, where we get all our cheap goods from, why are they able to pay their workers, but not us? It's almost like they're trying to distract us from everything other than paying people a living wage. Let me know what you think.
Now, he's, I've said before, he was like a contributor on Breaking Points. He might have a point of view that kind of skews left a lot of the time. He definitely doesn't wear tinfoil. I should send him a tinfoil Speedo. I think it goes a little deeper than just livable wages. That's something that a lot of lefties will cling to. They'll say, oh, it's all about those living wages. They act like there's nothing... They act like it never goes deeper than that for these people, these billionaires who are doing certain things, Like Elon being in the government, being in Doge, you're like, he's stealing your money. It's like, if he was doing anything, it's going to be way deeper than stealing your money. Like, are you crazy? He could just sell out completely and just go nuts and just make $3 trillion if he really wanted to. He could sell all his companies if he wants. It'd be crazy. He'd have the most money out of anybody. He'd be up there with like Saudi princes and stuff like that. So I think it goes a little deeper than that in this situation. Living wages, of course, that is a thing. But I think it also goes to, you look at George Soros when he does things, the Soros family, when they do things. It's not really about living wages when they're doing things. It's not really about human rights when they're doing things. It's really about... some of the time, most of the time, destabilization. That's what it's really about. Now, they do have a huge stake. The Walton family has a huge stake in cheap labor and having people who are so happy to be here and just so happy to just have any kind of job. That's true too. But I just think it goes a little deeper. Let's hear a little bit more about this whole thing. Real quick, let's go.
This is wild. A mysterious black truck just passed out all of these expensive bionic face shields to protesters in LA, and the news caught it on camera. I zoomed in and found out this is the UVEX bionic shield. These are not cheap. They're around $45 to $65, and you can't just get them in bulk. But one place that sells them is Walmart. And why is that important? Because there's a new protest being promoted called No Kings on June 14th. And even celebrities like Chrissy Teigen are posting it. And it's in magazines and newspapers. And guess who's behind this message? Christy Walton. That's right, one of the billionaire heiresses, a part of the Walmart family. Now, I don't know why they would be behind that protest against President Trump, but remember, just less than 3 weeks ago, President Trump tweeted about the whole tariff situation, saying Walmart should stop trying to blame tariffs as the reason for raising prices throughout the chain. Walmart made billions of dollars of last year, far more than expected. Between Walmart and China, they should, as is said, eat the tariffs and not charge valued customers anything. I'll be watching, and so will your customers. So, is it possible that maybe the Walmart family didn't like that and now they're finding ways to make their voices heard? Or is this just a big coincidence? As always, let me know what you think about all of this down below.
Wow, I didn't even get to actually, who is she? What is that? WFF News. Solid. Go follow that if you haven't already. I'm going to check them out, see if they're on X right now. WFF News. So they are. Oh, I am following them. Beautiful. All right. Yeah, they do some great work, it seems. So anyway, like I said, this does go a little deeper. I didn't even listen to that clip before I showed it to you guys. So it goes a little deeper. They're kind of butting heads with Trump, and now they have a thing that they're helping fund where they're saying no kings, and it's directly pointed at Donald Trump. And I should correct myself. It's not the I said the anniversary on the 14th. It's actually the massive military parade to celebrate the 250th anniversary of the U.S. Army, just to correct myself there. I think I said of America, and that's just not actual. So, little deeper there. That's something else. That's what Walmart is doing. I don't even know what to say, honestly. This is crazy. The fact that all this is happening again, like I said it in another episode, it's like they just scratch out a word and it's just like, okay, forget Elon, now it's ICE. Okay, no kings. No kings. Everybody can back that, right? Okay, get the signs ready. No kings. Because Trump is trying to be a king. Meanwhile, these people at Walmart itself as an entity operates like a king. You know what I mean? I don't know, man. This is all it's all popping off real fast, and it's happening everywhere. Yeah, I was talking to my buddy Chris. He's a journalist, and he was saying he's in Chicago, and I was like, be careful if it pops off there, protest wise. And he's like, it already has. There's been a bunch of arrests. He was telling me about Denver. I was telling him about Atlanta, New York, California, of course. They're popping up in all these cities. I'm telling you, if anything like this pops up where you are, stay away from it. Don't bother going into it. If you're press, if you're someone like me, or you got a camera or whatever, and you want to do that, do it. But be clear that you're press. I really think they're going to make an example. Talking about manufacturing consent, I think they're going to make a huge example of a lot of people. A lot. And I think they're going to get branded with all sorts of labels, and they're going to get thrown in jail, and they're going to stay in jail. I really think it's going to come to that. So just, I would steer clear if I were you. I would steer clear. Like, I heard about some stuff going on in Austin, and I'm like, I don't care. Don't care. I stay away from downtowns. Wherever I live, I stay away from downtowns. So it doesn't matter to me. Just steer clear of it, because they're looking to make examples of people. And right now we're at a point where, and with good reason, I will add, but we're at a point where there will be people cheering on your arrest on the left and the right. If you're in support, if you're on the left and you're at these protests, you get arrested because you're doing whatever you're doing, antagonizing police, whatever it is that you're doing. You get arrested, people are going to cheer that on. On the right, same thing. They're going to cheer it on. We got people right now trying to cheer on this Palantir. How do you say it? Palantir. This Palantir stuff. They're starting to cheer on things that just 5-6 years ago, none of us would be cheering on. It's just, it just seems so intentional. I don't know, man. Steer clear. I'm telling you. Walmart's involved. Steer clear. I'm telling you, man. Saturday, some stuff's going to go on. So if you're in New York, if you're in LA, if you're in, I know like those are the highest populations that watch this show. If you are in New York and LA, steer clear. Steer clear, man. If you're anywhere else, Austin, whatever, what have you, steer clear. Stay clear of all that stuff. Just, I don't want to say stay inside, because I'm not going to be like, there's a curfew going on, don't go outside. But it's just like, they're looking to make examples of people. And again, with good reason, but also, it's going to be hefty. Like, we're going to hear about some hefty jail sentences, I think, in the next 2 weeks. So, just wanted to bring you guys all that. I love to end it on a light note, you know what I mean? I'm out.